Joe Burrow is a name known amongst all college football fans and has become the superstar of this year's college football season, but it wasn't always this way for the LSU star. What is up, guys? In today's video, we are going to talk about the rise of Joe Burrow and how he became a college football superstar. If you love football, then make sure to hit that subscribe button, and if you enjoy my content, then make sure to also hit the like button. I really appreciate you guys checking out today's video, and let's get started. Joe Burrow's story begins in Ames, Iowa, as his dad, Jimmy, was a coordinator for the Iowa State Cyclones football team. The family's next stop was Fargo, North Dakota, before they finally settled down in Athens, Ohio, the home of the Ohio Bobcat. Believe it or not, Joe Burrow was not supposed to be a Cyclone, Bison, Bobcat, Buckeye, or even a Tiger. His father, Jimmy Burrow, was a star quarterback for Nebraska, and he went on to spend a ton of time in the NFL and the CFL. Naturally, Joe took a liking to his father's alma mater, and he dreamed of one day playing for the Huskers. When Joe got on to high school, he was a star from the very beginning. By the time he was a senior, he had led his high school to 3 straight playoff appearances and 7 playoff wins. He went on to become Ohio's Gatorade Player of the Year and a first-team All-State basketball player as well. Joe was said to be one of the hardest workers out there, and he would not stop until he reached his goal. Sadly, his dream school in Nebraska would hold him back from his dream not once, but twice. The Nebraska coaching staff said he didn't have the arm strength to be their quarterback. The second time, that'll be for later on in the story. Crazily enough, Joe was recruited by Lincoln Riley while he was at East Carolina and Tom Herman while he was at Ohio State, but the Buckeyes hadn't offered him yet. In the end, Herman convinced Urban Meyer to offer Burrow, and he ended up committing to Ohio State. Overall, Joe was a 4-star recruit, the number 8 dual threat quarterback, and the number 280 overall player in the 2015 recruiting class. After redshirting in 2015, Burrow was going to be the backup quarterback behind JT Barrett. Ohio State was still under Urban Meyer at the time, and they were led by Barrett at QB, Mike Weber at running back, and Curtis Samuel at receiver. It was a really weird season for Ohio State. They killed Oklahoma and beat 3 other top 10 teams, including Wisconsin, Nebraska, and Michigan, but they lost to Penn State, who at the time was unranked, and barely beat the worst Michigan State team of the decade. Nevertheless, they still went on to go 11-1 and make the college football playoff. But they got killed by Clemson and went home early. On the year, Burrow actually appeared in 5 games and threw for 2 touchdowns. Going into his sophomore year, Joe now had competition at the backup spot. Redshirt freshman Dwayne Haskins beat him out for the backup job, and it was the beginning of the end for Joe at OSU. It was another weird season for Ohio State 2017. They got killed by both Iowa and Oklahoma, but managed to beat 4 top 15 teams on the year. They ended up making it to the Rose Bowl, where they were going to beat USC. Burrow barely played in 2017, but he was holding out hope that he could beat out Dwayne Haskins for the starting job in 2018. Burrow ended up graduating in 3 years, so he could use the option to become a grad transfer if he wanted to, but he wanted to hold out hope to win the job. After he suffered a hand injury, Haskins won the job, and Joe finally decided it would be best for him to find a new home. But who would he go call first? Oh, in the video I talked about how he got rejected by his dream school twice. Well, this is the second time. Burrow tried to hop onto the Nebraska hype train, but Nebraska's new head coach Scott Frost had other ideas. When asked about Joe Burrow, Frost said, "You think he's better than what we got?" I wonder what Frost would have to say about that one now. Nevertheless, Joe decided to take a visit to Baton Rouge and meet up with Coach Orgeron. Coach O took him out for crawfish, and the visit left a lasting impact on him. Coming into LSU, Joe immediately earned the respect of his teammates, and he was going to be the starter from the very beginning. Under Coach O, the Tigers were led by Burrow at quarterback, Nick Brossette at running back, and had one of the best defenses in college football, yet they were picked to finish 5th in the SEC West. Joe made his first start under the lights against Miami and won the game, going on to win their next 4 games with their marquee win coming against Auburn and Burrow's marquee performance coming against Ole Miss. They would lose to Florida, but back-to-back wins over Georgia and Mississippi State kept them in the playoff discussion. The discussion was put to rest after they got shut out by Alabama and lost in 7 overtimes to Texas A&M, but they still did get to play in the Fiesta Bowl against UCF, or they would win. Joe's best game came against UCF, and it seemed to be a vision of the future. But honestly, his entire 2018 stat line made him just seem like a game manager and not a game changer. He threw for 2,500 yards, 12 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. What he would do next was going to shock the world. Meanwhile, the player who beat him out at Ohio State, Dwayne Haskins, went on to break the school record for passing yards and became a first-round pick along the way. Going into his senior year, LSU was considered a legitimate playoff contender, but they would need to get more out of the passing game to make that happen. Coach Orgeron looked to a young and up-and-coming coach for the answers. His name, Joe Brady. Brady spent time with both Penn State and the New Orleans Saints. He's said to be a quarterback whisperer, so he was hired to be the quarterback's coach. Joe set the tone for the season early by throwing for a career-high 5 touchdowns against Georgia Southern. He backed up the hype the following week against Texas as he threw for 471 yards and 4 touchdowns, including a clutch game-sealing drive. The hype was brewing now, but how would he respond? In his next 3 games, he'd throw for 1,100 yards and 13 touchdowns. Burrow was a legitimate Heisman contender now, and his next challenge was going to be the Florida Gators. LSU won the game by 2 scores, and Burrow had his worst performance of the season, a mere 293 yards and 3 touchdowns. After another 4 touchdown performance against Mississippi State, Joe was going to have to lead his team past 2 top 10 teams in Auburn and Alabama. After a close call with Auburn, Joe lit up the Alabama defense for 393 yards and 3 touchdowns, and LSU was in the driver's seat for both the SEC West and the playoff. In his final 3 games, he once again threw for 1,100 yards and 11 touchdowns. To this point, Joe had broken multiple LSU records, and it looked like the Heisman would be his to lose. He would have one more chance to solidify it, this time against Georgia in the SEC championship game. In this game, Joe would put up another Heisman performance with 349 yards and 4 touchdowns in a blowout win. A few weeks later, Burrow was one of the 4 finalists for the 2019 Heisman Trophy, which included Ohio State defensive end Chase Young, Ohio State quarterback Justin Fields, and Oklahoma quarterback Jalen Hurts. He would go on to not only win the award, but also go on to give one of the best sports speeches we have ever seen. Joe has been doubted most of his life, but now he has a chance to punch his name into the college football history books forever. His eyes are set on beating Oklahoma right now, and if they win that game, I'm sure he'll be ready to beat his next challenger. Burrow went from a late-round NFL draft pick to the potential number 1 overall pick in just a matter of a few months. Joe's crazy journey should inspire us to work towards our goals. We may not get that dream opportunity, but a positive attitude and a hard work ethic could help you achieve something far greater than you could ever imagine. I wish the best of luck to Joe in the near future and his inevitable career in the NFL. Thank you guys for checking out today's video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to hit that like button, and if you are new, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I look forward to seeing you guys for my next video, and I hope you guys have a good day.